Hello, Charlene here, and today we are talking about the LinkedIn newsletter and should you be jumping on that bandwagon. And today I'm going to talk a bit about in this live stream the pros and cons of the brand new LinkedIn newsletter. So let's get started. Hello, I am Charlene Tessier, founder of Strength in Numbers, and I'm helping you to find motivated prospects for your business using a unique combination of LinkedIn and live streaming. And today we're talking all about that newsletter. And you might have noticed, or maybe you haven't noticed, but where do those newsletter requests show up? Well, they show up over here in your network connection box where you would normally receive connections to requests for connections. You also receive requests for events, pardon me, and for newsletters. And I know if your networks area looks like this, but mine, look at that. It's like over 10 plus requests for me to join their newsletter. And I haven't joined any yet, as you can probably see. I think I maybe joined one. But there are some pros and cons to this brand new feature. One of the other things people want to know is, well, where do I get that newsletter? How do I turn it on? So let's actually go back here to LinkedIn and I'll just show you that really quickly. You go to your own profile and you need to turn on what's called creator mode. If your creator mode is not on, then the newsletter will not be presented to you. And that also goes for live stream mode. If you want to be able to live stream, then you will need to go into creator mode. So it's just down here. You can see it. I'm kind of trying to move my mouse around there. Right under the your profile page, you've got something called resources that's only present for you, and that is going to be creator mode. You're going to turn that on, and once you turn on that creator mode, what you'll have is options. You'll have LinkedIn Live and newsletters. And of course, LinkedIn Live is available for me because I'm currently live streaming. But as I'll say in another video, you can't, even though you quote unquote turn on LinkedIn Live here or it's available to you, you have to still apply through a third party app. So it might just show it's available, but there is no button to go live like on Facebook or YouTube. You'll need to use a third party app, and you can check out any of my other videos on YouTube. I can drop the link down there for you below. I go into detail and I can also give you a little step-by-step guide on how to do that. But the newsletters, it also will be there for you to turn it on, or it's available for you. Mine is on, and that is how it is. I am going to get out of this because we're going to be in a crazy loop soon if we keep it that way, because my live streams end up at the top of my LinkedIn page when I go live. That's how you see them. It's a little bit different. But we're talking about the newsletter. So that's how you turn it on if you so inclined to do it. But let's look at the pros and cons of that newsletter. And I took a few notes today because there were a lot. I was reading up on it and doing a bit of research on it because I was wondering, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? What's the pros? What's the cons? So the pro is the LinkedIn newsletter is just like any kind of other newsletter, or say you email your list once a week. You might not call it a newsletter, but if you're sending information to your own personal list once a week, then that is kind of like a newsletter. You're giving them updates, you're sharing value, you're sharing content. You can do so using the LinkedIn newsletter. And doing this is the same as any other kind of making like a blog kind of article, updating it. And that what happens is that those who have joined that newsletter not only get, of course, a push notification in LinkedIn, but it actually sends a notification to their inbox, whether it's Gmail or Outlook or whatever. So they get another push notification there saying that the newsletter is now available to be read. And of course, on the newsletter, people can comment and engage and whatnot and all that. So that's very similar to what you already have. One of the cons I would definitely say about the newsletter is that in LinkedIn, you have the controls, and I have the controls, of course, to decide what notifications I get, because you might have noticed LinkedIn sends a lot of notifications. And if you turn off a lot, then you don't get certain ones. So you kind of have to leave most of them on. And therefore, they end up for me in my inbox actually in a notifications kind of area, or in promotions or updates or whatever your email service provider has as a category. They don't go direct to my inbox. And actually, I don't want them to, because they're just kind of cluttering it up, to be honest. So that's one of the cons, is that even though there is a push notification to direct to their inbox, it's not necessarily going to the in. It's going maybe to notifications or promotions, which they probably don't check very frequently anyways. And because that one fills up a lot, because it's probably exploding with all kinds of promos and other kinds of information, they will skim through it quickly, or just often just clear it out and not really actually get that newsletter. The other con that I feel is that having to create yet another piece of content or manage another piece of content. I already have to create content for LinkedIn. I do live streams. I do my newsletter. I have a free community. All of this adds up, and it takes up tons of time, right? And we don't want to keep adding on to the plate, adding on to the plate. So having a LinkedIn newsletter is just another thing you got to manage. So you got to think about that. Is it worth doing it? And is it one more thing you want to add onto your plate? The other thing that I don't really think that the newsletter does for you is that it stays inside of kind of the LinkedIn ecosystem. You don't get the email addresses. And this is the biggest con, and the reason I'm actually not doing LinkedIn newsletter is that I would much rather put in the time and effort to have a really good headline, a really good banner, and in my banner, put a free gift that's going to drive them into my personal list, that I will have their email and be able to get into their inbox. That for me is much, much more valuable and a better use of my time. You can also do that on posts like this. After this live stream, I will give you a free gift and then invite you into my world. But that for me is a much more valuable than staying just inside of the LinkedIn ecosystem. And yes, maybe you will get some views for it, but are they really active members of your community? And those who, I feel, yes, it's a little bit more of a hurdle. They have to go to that free gift, they have to put in their name and their email address, and then they have to opt in. But they are essentially having a conversation with me in just by doing that, saying, yes, Charlene, I really want to hear from you. I really am interested in what you're talking about. And for me, that is a much better prospect than having, again, 5,000 people in my newsletter who may or may not be consuming it and haven't really said to me, and we've kind of said and had an agreement together, like, yes, send me stuff, right? This is kind of, it's a very soft yes, and it's not as strong as it would for your personal newsletter. And for me, I feel that spending the time to drive to your newsletter is much more value than that. The other thing you could do, if you are still interested in, of course, maybe doing something in this creator mode, is I highly recommend live streaming like I'm doing here today. And I feel I just get a much more reach, much more value. I'm able to repurpose and reuse much of these live streams as content, as is free gifts. Like, it just goes on and on. And I have quite a few videos also about how I can repurpose, for example, this one live stream into at least 5 pieces of different media content. And so for me, it's just a lot more value by doing a live stream than there is for me to do yet another newsletter. So it's up to you, of course. You are on your own journey there, but I highly recommend think about what is it that you really want to achieve with that newsletter, and can you achieve it in a way that's really going to show you the results, and you're going to be able to really measure that. Now, for those, I'm going to give you a gift, because, of course, I am all about the live streaming. And maybe you're thinking about, how do I get into the LinkedIn Live like I was showing you there? It's like it's showing up on my creator mode. I would love to get into that. Okay, I've got something for you. It's my 5 surefire steps to get you accepted to LinkedIn Live when most people fail. So I will drop that gift down for you below. If you have any questions about the newsletter, how about LinkedIn Live, about live streaming, drop it down in the comments, and I will see you next time.